Alright. You can get started.
Yeah. So mission mining in EU4 is like, well, most coding, right? You basically have a giant piece of paper and you're writing out lines of text that instruct the game how to act. And so for this instance, what Seb has here is a very, very basic outline of a mission. So if we go all the way to the top, you're going to see the name of the country there, _1. That right there is giving us a name for the column of the mission tree. So missions in EU4s, have 5 columns. And that right there is saying this is the name of column 1, which is the leftmost column. And then if you go under that to slot equals, so that's where, yeah. And if you go under there to slot equals 1, it tells it this is going to be the most left column. If Seb changed that to be slot 4, it would be the second most right column, right? And then you go below that and you see generic. All that means is that only tags under the potential are going to get this. So it's not going to be spread out to everyone. And then AI equals yes just means that the AI could do missions, because, why shouldn't the AIs be able to do missions? And then has country shield just means that a little flag with the country's, flag on it appears next to the mission. Finally, under that, you're going to see potential. That right there tells you which countries are going to have access to this mission tree. So, for instance, Seb here has got tag Z87, which is a small goblin in the deep woods. And so basically right there, it's saying that this country right here has access to this mission. And that right there is just talking about the column of missions. We haven't even gotten into the missions yet. And then so below this first column, you're going to get to the first mission. And so the first mission here is, is going to be the mission that actually has defined stuff, right? So you're going to see at the top there, it is the Gladeway development. That right there is the tag name for the mission. So whenever you're trying to reference it in any other things, it would be Z87 Gladeway development. And that's also the name there. And you can also do some stuff in localization we'll get to later that makes it not look weird in the game. But then below that, you've got the icon. This is just the picture that shows up with the mission. So he's got mission Asian traders. So, there's the one right there. And then below that, that's position. Now, position is basically telling you what row your missions are going to be. So because this mission is inside column 1, and because it's slot 1, it's going to be the top left mission. If Seb, for instance, changed it to be position 2, it would go down 1. And if you change it to position 5, it would go down several. And so this is kind of like, missions are basically like a checkerboard with your branches being your columns that determine their left to rightness, while your slots are going to be your positions are going to be your verticality. So, yeah, all of that is basically just telling the missions how they're going to look like in the game. And then the next part we're actually going to get to is going to be the code of the missions. So if you go back to there, so, what's it called? So in this thing, you've got your triggers. Triggers are basically telling you what the game wants you to do to complete the mission. So for this mission, in instance, it wants your manpower to be equal to 20. Now that doesn't mean 20 manpower, it means 20,000 manpower, right? And treasury means it wants it to have 250 ducats, and then it wants you to own... Oh, why'd you get rid of this?
Oh, it's just the current mission has this just as the requirements.
Oh, yeah. And then if you want to add more stuff, you can add stuff to be like, I want it, what it has right here is it wants you to own these 3 provinces by your route. And so, yeah. And a big thing to do in mission modding, especially for triggers and effects, is that generally, especially for new, the best way to start off is to find a mission that does something similar to what you want, and then just copy over the code and then just change it to your use. Because even me, I've done this for at least 100 hours. I don't even know all the code that goes into it because it's quite, esoteric, right? But if you want to find a mission like, I want this country to own this state and it for all to be 20 dev, best way for you to do that is to find another mission that does that, copy it over, and just change it for your own use, right?
Yeah.
And so if you go back
to like not commands, and you can do area commands as well.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff you can do, with the effects. With the triggers. But then also something to keep in mind is also, I'm going to send this to Seb. So another thing that missions can do is missions can actually highlight stuff on the map. And I'm actually going to send the code for Seb, and I'd like him to paste it in there. And that's called provinces to highlight. Yeah. No. Oh, no. So province is the highlight you want to add under the position and above the trigger to put it right there. And what this is basically saying is that whenever you hover over the mission, it's going to highlight these provinces. So this can be pretty useful just to help players kind of know what's going on. So for instance, this mission wants Seb to own these 3 provinces. Well, he can actually add the position ID for these 3 provinces. And then in the game, it would show up and want him to have these, right? So it just, it just helps. Sorry, let me look. Yes, and actually, let me find the specifics because I think you do something with multiple province IDs. Let me make sure. Do you have the OR command?
This is an OR command, so it's one of the it'll highlight like.
Yep. Okay, yeah, that works then. Yep. So basically, it's whenever you hover over this mission, it's going to highlight these 3 province IDs, and then it is, basically hover over, you highlight them, and you can see, oh, I need to own these 3 provinces, right? And there's actually some other stuff you can do, and I'm going to get that ready while Seb's reloading to show you guys the changes.
Yeah. Another thing to talk about, in case you're a bit newer to coding in general, is definitely the bracket system. So that's definitely one of the more important things. So like triggers, for example, you have your lines of code, like what you want the trigger to be, and you have a starting bracket and an ending bracket. And effects, you want the same thing. You want whatever the effect is, and then you always want an ending and starting bracket.
And Seb, you're actually missing a bracket for
bracket
your
over here.
branch, which is maybe one of the reasons. So add it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And, brackets are basically just going to enclose your code, so if you forget brackets, it's a really easy way to break things. If you add brackets, really easy way to break things, but,
Yeah, it's really easy to fuck this up. If you have an issue, I would recommend first checking the brackets, honestly. A lot of times it's going to be that issue, or typos as well. Typos are super important, involving, like, dealing with coding in general. If you mess up one word, it can cause major issues.
And Seb, I'm going to send you some stuff. Give me a moment.
Alright, sounds good.
While you load that up to show people our changes.
Yes,
I'm just going to show... Yeah, I'm just going to show people the big 4th. Okay. Okay, so... Oh, are you... Oh. Okay, so you're back in the... Yeah. Show us what has changed with the mission.
Alright, so now it highlights
do TI.
The right province.
And so now we can see for this mission, right, it needs you to own, we were talking before, you need 250 ducats, you need to have 20k manpower, and then you also need to own these 3 provinces. And now when you hover over it, it actually highlights the provinces. You actually know what you need to own, right? It's just a nice way for people to, just a nice way for people to understand what they need on the map. It can be very helpful. You can also add you can also add stuff to make it that when you've actually completed the requirement for owning this province, that that it stops highlighting it. I'm actually going to go find that and show you guys. Just give me a single second. Oh. Sorry, give me 1 second.
No problem.
Oh. Okay, sorry. There we go.
You're
okay.
Good. Oh, I muted myself by accident. Oops. Probably not be a good idea for me to mute myself while
And so Seb, the thing I just added right there, and you could paste that into the code to show people.
The OR one?
That
okay.
Yeah, and put that under with the height. It's just like delete that and replace it with the
delete that?
Yep, and then paste that new one. So that right there is another way you could do highlights. And so what this does is it says it's going to highlight an entire area for you, and that's going to be the area of the TEF island. And then below that it says not basically owned by you or your subject. So now what happens in the highlight is that if you own parts of the state or the entire state, it's not going to highlight because you've completed that requirement, right? And you could do the same thing with province ideas. So that's just, again, it's a visual tooltip to help people know what they're supposed to do. And it's pretty common in other missions. You don't have to do it, but it is very nice to make things clean. So now the final thing we're going to get to is at least the first things we're going to get to. The final for like basic mission stuff is going to be the effects. So Seb, you're going to see that right above the or for the island area, I added 4 different things that starts with add Diplo power and goes all the way down to that permanent claim.
Yep.
Copy paste all that in there and do the effects. If you could, please.
Yep.
Okay, so this right here, this is going to be your basic effects are your rewards. This is what your missions do. And so these are going to be your 4 kind of like basic things. So you see under add dip power equals minus 100. That right there is basically going to be your mana, money, or manpower rewards. All of them are very, very similar. Just basically add cash, add manpower, or add a mana amount, and you can have it be anything you want. You could even also be at negative if it's like you're paying for something. And so for Seb's instance, if he had 250 for a trigger in treasury, he might want to have add underscore cash equals negative 250, like they're paying for something, right? And then below that, you're going to see, yeah, you could change that. And below that, you're going to see add country modifier. This is going to be the little like percentage bonuses that your country overall is going to get from the missions, right? So ever think of the generic mission where it gives you like, oh, you build all these manufactories and it gives you like 10% production efficiency. This is where you would do it. And under country modifier, it's going to be the name, which is called halfling relocation. This is basically telling the game which modifier it's going to pick and give you. And then under duration is basically telling you how long it's going to be. And the duration equals, yeah, days. So if you want it to be 10 years, you would do 3,650 days, right? Now below that is going to be a number. And this is basically a province modifier. So it's telling you that it's going to go to province 160. It's going to add a province modifier. It's going to be the halfling work camp. And then below that is the duration. So this duration is permanent, means it'll last for the rest of the game. And it's adding it on top of a province and giving you a modifier, right? And then finally, below that is probably the most common reward that you're going to get at any missions, which is permanent claims. And so permanent claims, basically what they do is, or at least this one right here says, it will give you claim on the EWEX area. You see EWEX is all the way at the top, and then at the bottom is add permanent claim. And that stuff in the middle is basically telling you it's not going to add a claim if you already own the land, because that can make the game a little buggy, right? And so most of these, yeah, and again, most of these, most of these rewards are going to, what you're going to do 9 times out of 10. You might do something a little more extra besides any of these 4. And in that case, like I'd recommend before, is you find another mission that does effect similarly. There's hundreds, if not thousands of missions across a bunch of mods at base game, and you just copy paste the code and change it. That really is the easiest way to change something. Because it just, you know, it lines everything up for you. Just see, okay, this is exactly what I need, because sometimes the code can be a little bit iffy in the game. And so now, Seb, I would like you to do for this, right? So a big thing with all of these things, especially with the modifiers you're going to get, is you're going to need a separate, besides just having this right here in your mission folder, you're also going to need to have something in your modifiers folder. So go out of there and just let me find exactly where you're going to go.
Before they go on from there, I will say this. Usually what people do, like every modding shit for like another mod, is we do have a connective little hub where we can do changes and synchrone changes together. But to do this, you need to have a local version of the mod. So I definitely recommend going to your content if you want to work on the mod, and then downloading all the stuff into your own local version. So you make a new folder and then put it all in there, and I would recommend pinning it to your quick access or areas like that, so that way you can access all the same information like as quickly. So, yeah.
But Steph, if you go back to the thing, so what's it called? So in your mod, your missions are going to be under the mission, folder. But then the next thing you're going to want to add is you're going to want to add a common folder, and then inside that add something called event modifiers. And then inside that, you're going to want to add a text document, and you can just open in these text documents, really. Just pick one. Yeah. And so this right here is telling you what all your mission rewards that aren't just like straight, just like points or mana or cash are going to be. This is all your modifiers. This is what everyone is like, you know. This is the big thing about missions. You're going to probably be adding a lot of these. And all this is pretty simple. It's just a name. So if you go down to settle horde and, right, so if you just go, or sorry, settle horde mod, right, go up a little bit. No, it's literally one of, but Seb, it's literally, go back to the thing. Literally one of, settle horde mod, yep. So that's basically telling you it's going to give your country going to give it reduced liberty desire. So all your vassals on the continent are going to have negative 30 liberty desire. And then it's going to give you minus 30 land maintenance for however long it lasts based on what your mission says, right? And this is your code here. Now, again, if you're wondering, okay, I want my country, I want to give my country plus 1 or 2 colonists, right? Well, you would want to find another event modifier. You go scrolling through it, find one, and then just copy paste it, right? And this code's really easy. All you have is the name, space, equal, bracket, and then you go under, put all your modifiers, and then you go under, put another bracket. It's a very simple code, right? And then once you have this in your thing, it will make your modifier show up, right? And so
speaking of modifiers and like finding what you want exactly, I recommend saving and favoriting the wiki, the Paradox wiki for modifiers list. It can really help you out, like finding what modifiers you actually want to have and making sure you're not doing something wrong with the modifiers. And it tells you exactly what it does for the description and if it's additive or multiplicative. Sorry, you can go on.
Yeah, and so now after we there's one other, basically, so we got our mission, like our mission document, and then we got our event modifiers document. There's one other document you need, and then it'll be good for most of your modding, and that's going to be your localization. So Seb, if you go to localization, open this.
Yep.
So localization, open one. Yeah, just like, actually, go out of that one. Find one of the ones I made. Yeah,
well,
find
the mission one's okay. Where's Light?
Yeah,
I'll find Where's Light.
No, find TPG. Go look for TPG.
Oh, TPG changes? Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be better one. Yeah, click that one. Because I've organized it pretty well. Okay, so this right here is going to be localization, is basically telling the game how you're going to name stuff. And if you go back to EU4 and show us. So, go back to EU4. Okay, so you hover over your name. Now hover over your name. Okay. Do you see in the game how it's got, it's got the name of the mission, right? It's got Z87 underscore Gladeway underscore development, and then you see underscore title, and then below that underscore description. Without you adding a title or description to it, it's just going to show up that. But in the game, or in the localization, you can actually add title, and then basically add the title of what you want it to be. So you can name it anything, and then below that you can name the description. So if you go back to localization, I'll show you exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, I just want to pull up Boozley as well.
Yeah, and so this right here, scroll just a tiny bit below, go to like A26 Secure Highlands title, right?
A26.
Right there, A29 Secure Highlands, right? The first one.
Secure Highlands? I'm
blind? Right.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, okay, so that right there, so we see the A29 Secure Highlands, then title, right? So what you're going to do after title is you're going to do a colon, and you're going to do a space, and you can add a zero, you can add a zero if you want, doesn't matter. But then you do a space and you add apostrophes, and then you add the real name of the mission, which is Move to Secure Islands, and then you add another apostrophe at the end to close it. If you don't add an apostrophe, it's going to break the name, okay?
Yeah,
and then
below
sure it
that, automatically does apostrophes. Yeah, see, it automatically does it for you as well.
Yeah, so it could be, depending on your thing, it could be nice, right? And then below that, you're also going to see basically the same thing, but this is the description. And so this is going to be the, big wall of text that happens when you hover over the world. So, the mission. So you see, so if we hover over that, Bolzalar is naturally defensible with high mountains, right? And we have moved to Secure Highlands at the title. If we go back to the localization, that's all the text right there. That's what shows it up, right? And then Seb, if you go above this actually, right to there. And so you see those right there? Those are actually the modifiers that are given names. So remember we were talking before about how you're going to add your event modifiers and basically give them names? This is where you're going to define what those names are, so they're not just a bunch of hyphens.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then you see, look, we've got Bolzalar Securities Concerns, which gives you ICA and monthly mill power, instead of, A29 underscore Bolzalari underscore security underscore concerns. I would also strongly recommend whenever you're naming missions or modifiers, I'd recommend starting them with the number of your tag, because you'd be surprised, because in a lot of either base game EU4 or in your mod, a lot of names for missions are already taken, and if you do something like strengthen underscore army, there might already be another mission or modifier that says that, and it could fuck it up. So if you just add your tag beforehand and then have another, underscore hyphen, right? It just makes it so you never have any naming issues, right? And it's also really easy to find your stuff, because everything that has A29 is going to be for this specific tag. And I used to do this, and this was super useful. And so yeah, that's going to get you through most of your basic mission stuff. There's again, mission stuff can be very complicated, especially with all the new stuff that Paradox is adding. But again, for about 8 to 9 out of 10 of all the missions you're going to do, this is going to be what you need to know to do it. And if you don't have something you know how to do or want to do something quickly, find another country that already has it and just copy it over and change it, right? That's all you're going to do. That's how easy the code is. It's a little tedious, but I mean, it works. So yeah. Anything you think I
That's
missed, Seb?
no, but I do want to reiterate again that you should definitely if you're not gonna so if you want, you can just transfer over like Sebennar and make it a local copy, and then you can start sending us over like whatever mission file you have there that's changing things with all the files associated with it. Or you can do what Cool Claw does, or what other people do, is they make like a separate mod that just has like a couple files to override, like what we did with our old Sebennar mod, where if you have if you have like a mission file and there's like one thing different, it still puts it in, basically, and you can put it on like an additional mod so people can test it out a lot easier. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Cool Claw. And I'm gonna end the recording now. And if I forget anything, I'll just add in post, hopefully.
Fair enough. And you could add like text. Don't forget to do this. We were stupid.
Pretty much. If they have any questions, anyone can come and ask either one of us.
Yeah. Or you can leave comments on the
Claw.
video and Seb will ask too or answer.
Yeah. And if we forgot something, then I'll put it in the comments as well. Because there's a lot of things with mission modding that's you can forget sometimes, so.
It can spiral a little bit.
Alrighty, I'm gonna end the stream here, and then hopefully this was informative enough for anyone that wants to actually mod with our mod, or in general.